Dr. Raed Arafat to join me, and he is going to speak about the impact of the anti-vax disinformation, which of course is sadly something that's still with us. We are hugely honoured to have you with us as the Secretary of State and Head of the Department of Emergency Situations at the Ministry of Internal Affairs in Romania. So thank you so much for joining us, for giving us your time. And I know too, because you've told me yesterday evening, you have an extraordinary tale to share with us. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Can I have just a second? Yes. So, just a few words before I start. I'm not only going to speak about the anti-vax and, yes, you can photograph it, no problem. So,
it's okay.
So, just to know what I did in Romania, I went to Romania when I was 16 years old. I studied medicine there, then specialized in anesthesia and critical care. I started the change of the emergency system in Romania with one team, with a bunch of volunteers, a system which now functions at national level. 2007, I was called upon to be State Secretary in the Ministry of Health. I refused to go into any political party, so I was offered to go as Under State Secretary, which is a deputy minister, but still under the order of the minister. And for 3 months, I accepted to be Minister of Health as an exception during an election hard period for politicians. So I went in to not leave the ministry empty, as we say. And then I became Secretary of State in the Ministry of Health until 2014, and then moved to the Ministry of Interior, where we integrated all our emergency services under one umbrella, which we call the Department for Emergency Situations, which in fact is the civil protection of Romania, including emergency medical response, fire and rescue, air rescue, and all these issues. And this is important to understand for what I'm going to speak, because this department coordinates operationally all disaster response, all daily emergency response. So when you have a pandemic, the operational coordination falls under this department. Still, the decision taking is not for the head of the department to do it. I have certain decisions that I can take and so on, but there is a big committee above me which is led by the Prime Minister. It's called the National Committee for Emergency Situations. This is where important decisions are validated, are taken, and this includes many ministries, many ministers, many heads of institutions, and then this goes down to be implemented operationally. So this is what I wanted to tell you at the beginning, so that, just a second, let me see, why is this not working? Okay. So if we talk about the mass media, we all know that mass media should inform, should educate, and should deliver the truth. What I'm going to show you maybe is a little bit different than these issues. So as I told you, since the COVID pandemic started, the first 2 months where Romania had its only lockdown, real lockdown, is just the first 2 months. Then Romania was slightly different than other countries, and we were more balanced in what measures we have taken. We didn't have full lockdowns repeated and repeated and repeated. We just went into regions, into small areas where the numbers of cases were going up without impacting the whole country at the same time. But slowly, politics started playing around and influencers started appearing, and a lot of debate started appearing in the media. And of course that these influencers, not all of them were from the medical background or knew what it was all about, but they had a huge influence on the population and a huge impact on the population. Now, those influencers started with fashion designer, TV hosts, even doctors from different specialties like ophthalmology or things like this. We will see this. And even representatives of some extremist political sides which were taking every day on social media and talking about against the measures that we were taking. The problem in Romania is that it was not social media, the big issue. It was the fact that what was happening in the social media was taken into the mainstream media, and it was spread every night in talk shows which lasted for 3 hours, 4 hours, inviting those influencers and attacking certain persons. And I would say maybe in the last 2 years you have in front of you one of the mostly attacked persons in the mass media of Romania. What I'm going to on part of the mass media, not generalizing, part of the mass media worked very well. They were neutral. They said what they needed to say and so on. But we had a certain part of it which was concentrated on attacking, on destroying any idea about vaccination, about what is happening with the COVID and so on. So for 2 years, nearly, daily, these were the things that were appearing. This is special TV, very high. Amongst the news TVs, this may have the first rating in the country, especially in the rural areas where elderly watch and so on. It used at the beginning of the pandemic to be the second or the third, and it succeeded through what it did to arrive to be the first followed, especially during this transmission, which was a debate usually between 9 and 11 in the night or 8 and 11 in the night. So you can see the Kroll was one of their first ways, and you can see here, exclusive testimonies from Arafat's hell. Prosecutors, the first investigation into Arafat troops. So everything was done in the pandemic. It was connected to one name, Arafat. Not the Committee for Emergency Situations, not anyone. One name, one person. And they did this for 2 years. So you can see here, Arafat gang, different reactions in applying the restrictions. A mayor didn't respect certain rules about parties and so on. He was immediately connected to me, which I have nothing with him, and I never knew him. Other one, Arafat commandos impose new restrictions. How Arafat wanted to manipulate the Romanians. All these were happening the whole day. The Kroll was the whole day going on this way daily. Weekends, nights, days, doesn't matter. But not only this. Watch the last one down, the countdown, 3 hours, 33 minutes. For a few weeks, they used to put a box in the box with my picture and promising that in the night there will be a big issue with Dr. Arafat that will be discovered. And they kept this until 9 o'clock when they started their main show, and nothing was said after that. But those who were following the TV, they knew something bad was done by Dr. Arafat. So if you watch the TV at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you would see this in the box in the TV showing that something will be said, a new thing about Dr. Arafat. Same thing, devastating investigations that nobody knows where they are. What the prosecution, so they tried to connect me to corruption issues. You know, the pandemic meant a lot of procurement of materials and so on, but the issue is, and they knew it, and I was at that TV for once where I answered to all their questions about these issues, but then it showed that it didn't matter what I said, because I am not running the biddings. It was the National Agency for Central Procurement running the biddings. I had a committee which was deciding what we need, the quantities and so on. So I was not deciding them. So connecting this to a person, it was just to attack that person. And here I will show you how the TV shows were. So this is one TV show. This journalist, you'll see a lady on the left side. They were haunting me everywhere I go. You see, no other media is interested, only their reporter. Normally, if there is something serious, you will have all the mass media there. So it's just one reporter. And they were following me everywhere, at the entry of the ministry, going out from somewhere. Wherever they found that I would be there, their reporters will be there. This journalist appeared during the pandemic, the one on the left side, and her target was Dr. Arafat. So the first time she came with a story, I went and answered them, but as I told you, it was useless. And so every night she was coming with new news, but she was saying nothing. Here she's saying that the Secret Service told the anti-corruption agency about how we are doing the procurements that are ordered by Dr. Arafat. But at the end, this was in 2020, and it was all based on non-confirmed news and lies. We go further. The guy on the second, he is the main journalist of this show. This guy here is telling him a story that he talked to a politician from the parliament who doesn't want to say his name, who's telling him that I sent 20 tests to a hospital and I ordered the hospital that the tests have to come back positive. And he's saying this at main prime time, and the journalist doesn't say anything. He agrees with him. This guy is a former member of parliament. And he's telling him that I ordered hospitals to give me back positive results of the testing because they were going on the idea that the tests and all these things are a charade, are a masquerade, nothing is true. And they were trying to prove it by saying lies, which nobody was able to fight this. And now, again, this is the same guy. You know what he's doing here in his transmission? He's threatening me directly. He's telling me I will have no more life. And then he says professional life. And that I will be finished. And he's saying this directly. Mainstream media, we call it. Let's go further. This is just the beginning. This lady, fashion designer. Nobody knew her before the pandemic. She opened an app. She started being vocal and very vulgar, I would say. And now she's talking to a journalist who's in his way also an anti-vaxxer, and everybody observed this. But this is not the problem. It's his right to be anti-vaccination. The problem is the discussion. So she's telling him that all conspiracy theories appear to be right. And he's telling her, no, not all of them, but more than half of them. And that he's following this. And now she's accusing me that I'm warning people that fourth wave is coming. And she's mocking the idea that the fourth wave is coming. Fourth wave in Romania was the worst of everything we ever passed through. 20,000 deaths in 2 months. And she was mocking this. So she's encouraging people who are against what we are saying, but let's go further. The same lady. Now, he is telling her that in his opinion, what I'm doing is respecting what information I'm getting from the official sources, and that I'm forced to respect the information from the official sources. So what he's saying is that I'm a puppy or a manipulated person who's respecting official sources coming from the government, and I cannot go out of them. So what he's saying is that what I'm doing is not what I'm believing in. And this is a very shrewd way to say that everything that is said is in fact a lie. So he has reserves on condemning me because he thinks that I'm listening to what others are saying. And you can see her face. This lady was hours and hours every day on the TV, if not on the TV, on her app. So now the studies, they are saying that there are studies which are correctly done, but nobody wants to publish them, and that we are listening to the official studies, which are not right, in fact. This is what they are saying. So let's go. She doesn't agree with him. Anyhow, I will not stop on this, but let's go on this one. You know what she's doing here? She's saying that in the United Kingdom, once they started vaccinating young people, 1 million people were vaccinated, and she's insinuating that these were fake vaccinations. And on a main news TV, she's encouraging GPs what we call to sync vaccinate patients to give them certificates, which means you take the vaccine, you drop it in the sink, you don't inject the patient, and you give a fake certificate. This is what she's encouraging. This is a show which goes normally, you can see the time, 2024, main prime time, everybody is watching. And this is what she was telling everyone. Do fake vaccinations. And she was saying that the United Kingdom, in fact, this is what is happening there because there is a large number of people who got vaccinated. So it means that they are fake vaccinations. So Romania should do the same thing. So this is the logic. Now, Romania, when we started the vaccination campaign, we were the first in the EU. We were on the top. And with all these things, slowly, we went down to be the last. The last. Only 24% of the elderly were vaccinated. And this explains a lot of the high deaths we had after the vaccines appeared. So we go further. She's on her own app here. And she's very angry because we said during the refugees that we are together with an NGO, that the NGO is going to monitor the fake news and we will warn everybody about them and that the reports of that NGO will get to everyone. That made even politicians go against us and say, this is not good. We want to create the Ministry of Truth. Why do we want to monitor fake news? Fake news should not be monitored. News should not be monitored. It should not be monitored by the Department for Emergency Situations, even though it's an NGO which will do it. So,
Bună seara, domnule Arafat.
It's direct to me.
Astăzi era să aibă loc o mare nenorocire.
Big calamity today for democracy and
măcar 1% din rezultatul final, și anume că nu va mai avea loc această nenorocire pe care ați
so she's happy she stopped it. She has a political friend who went immediately to shout against monitoring fake news. So the right to free expression is beyond and above anything like.
Pe ce bază creați dumneavoastră grupuri care se ocupă cu monitorizarea știrilor?
Why do we want to monitor the news?
Sunteți șeful la salvări? Cine dracului?
She's very vulgar in the way she's speaking. It's very hard for me to translate this into you in English, you know. But
nu știu, ca primul ministru. Cine dracului?
Let's go further. That was one type. The problem is, whatever she said, there were a lot of outlets which were immediately titling Dana Budianu, she's throwing Arafat on the floor, she's finishing him. So all these news, they were coming that I was finished, I was stepped over by her, that she was right, in fact. So it's not only her app, it's the way it was reflected by mainstream media outlets. These are media outlets that everybody reads them. These are media agencies which were doing this. Let's go further. This is a talk, this is a debate. We always refuse to go and debate with anti-vaxxers about the vaccines because you only potentiate their power. But here you have in the middle a doctor, in the middle down, a lady doctor from Sweden who's originally Romanian who accepted to go in debate with this. So she's telling the doctor that what she says means zero, that she knows better than her, that she goes after scientific evidence and the doctor doesn't. And she didn't let the doctor speak at all. Near that doctor, this guy here is a doctor from the States. He's a pneumologist, ex-Romanian. He was very, very angry. And at the end, he left before the others left the transmission. The guy on the top with the mask is a professor of infectious disease. He didn't say a single word. When he was asked, he said a few things, but he didn't go into the debate because he knew that he will be massacred after that. So you can see these discussions are no debates to convince people. These are debates that gives her more power after that.
Vă ascultăm pe dumneavoastră. Eu sunt un cetățean, vreau să vă ascult pe dumneavoastră. Dați-mi 3-4 nume de oameni.
That doctor had the courage to tell her at the end, you're a tailor, I'm a doctor, I know more than you about medicine.
În România atât de nepăstuit și de
But
neinformat.
that costed her a lot. So here, the moderator intervenes to let her speak, and she's trying to tell her that she looks at science when she's speaking. It was a very moderate and very good doctor, but because she had the courage to do this, this is what happened to her next day. They found her father. Her father is anti-vaxxer. And they made her father, in fact, attack her. And they put the attacks from her father in the media, and they attacked her. That was the last time I remember she went out on a discussion or a debate. Not everybody supports this. Not everybody is resilient for this. Some people just stop and then they don't say anymore their opinion. They succeeded to stop her, at least to go out and to discuss on the mainstream media. Okay, this is another situation, an ophthalmologist. Just before the campaign for vaccination, she throws something. What if you do leukemia after the vaccine in the next 3 years? How can you prove that you will not have leukemia after 3 years? Nobody there to answer her. And this went as a viral. You will have leukemia after 3 years. So many people who wanted to vaccinate maybe started thinking, why should I? The doctor said that I will have leukemia. Yes, she's an ophthalmologist, she's not an immunologist. So we caught her on another situation, and this is very interesting. You will see a journalist who's being very correct. He's giving real data from the official data we have. And there are two moments, and you will see them. We debunked it, we published this, but very few media took it. They took what she said or what she says, not what we say. This is the problem. You need a partner to communicate. If they don't take what we say, it remains only on our Facebooks, on our Twitters, and on our site, but it is not taken to the media. But some of the things we said were taken, others no. Here you will see that the journalist, the guy on the left side, is saying that 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 of those in the intensive care are unvaccinated. And she's, no, it's not correct. And we come to her and we say, no, it's correct. And we explain the numbers. Then he says, 9 out of 10 deaths are not vaccinated. She says, no, it's not correct. And we come and we say to her, it's correct. And we again explain why. You saw her. She said, it's not true. And we say to her, yes, it's true. So this is a film produced by our department, one of the films we did. And we explained to the people that it was true. And we gave the real numbers of that day. That was during the fourth wave, when we had the vaccines, when we could avoid many of the 20,000 deaths. And you can see 392 of 441 in the intensive care were unvaccinated, 88%. So the journalist was right, the guy here. And he says 9 out of 10 deaths are unvaccinated. You will see she says, not correct. This is just one word, but on the TV it means a lot for those who are hearing, because he's not a doctor, she's a doctor. People don't understand what she knows. She's an ophthalmologist, okay, but she said not correct. So we are showing her that it's correct. It's in fact 90-point-something% of the deaths are unvaccinated. So the next day, again, the same thing. What she says is taken. What she says is used to attack who? Dr. Arafat, of course. Dr. Arafat was made, was destroyed, was terminated, and so on. She becomes the terminator, of course, which is... So, just shortly, and I will finish, 3 more things to show you. This is how they took a press conference, and they cut the video to make me say in the new video that we need to increase the number of the positive cases again. And this circulated, and you can see, when I saw it, I asked my people not to leave before we debunk it on the same day. You will see here, we say this video was cut here. We show where the video was cut. And I'm saying here that we need to increase the cases. So it shows that we are manipulating the cases. And the problem is not here, you will see. We then show the reality. We say the reality was, and then we show the full press conference and how they cut it to take the phrases to put them together, so that I am saying that we need to increase the cases. Okay, we did this. It was 7th of December. On the 15th of December, one of the main news TVs, because the people who did the video, then they took just the soundtrack and they repeated spreading it without the video. On 15th of December, I was in Vienna. I remember exactly the time and the date. 9 o'clock in the morning, my phone starts ringing. What do you comment about what was said? What do you say? What should I comment? Well, you are saying that you need to increase the cases. A main news TV channel had a breaking news. Romania is the country of breaking news. Every 5 minutes there's a breaking news. Had a breaking news saying or using the soundtrack that was recorded, neglecting the debunking we had 1 week ago, and I can tell you 100% they have seen it. Our Facebook, our Twitter, all our accounts are very well followed by the media. So they have seen the debunking of this. They still used it, and they showed it as a fake news. It took us 1 hour and a half to convince them to come out and say that this was fake. It was too late from our point of view. At least a few thousand people saw this, and they didn't see when they said that it was fake. So then a very big, interesting fake news. Dr. Arafat said that he will change the time of the, in Easter at 12 o'clock at night. I don't know how we call it in English. You have to be at the church, and so on. So they say that I am changing the time to 10 o'clock in the night. You can imagine other religion, not Romanian originally, using this is very strong against me. And it became viral. And they said that I said this on DG24, which is a very credible media source. So a father from the church who's very vocal and has thousands of followers, he started attacking me. He started spreading the fake news. We had a communique on the left side, on the right side, saying that this is not true, never said. The TV channel, which was said that I said it there, came out and said that we reported the fake, and they confirmed it was a fake. But he liked it, so he continued. And instead, all the media, look, Mediafax, a very big news agency, Aleph News, a big news agency, all these are taking what he said. They didn't take from us that it's a fake. Maybe 1 or 2 of them. The rest of them, they said they took his attacks. They were nice. They were very juicy, as I would say. So, as I said, the most aggressive wave was the 4th, 20,578 people dead between 21st of September and 27th of November. It would have been really preventable if we could have vaccinated more people in Romania, especially the elderly. So the attacks against me were continuously. The man who threats, the man who's aggressive, the man who's above ministers and so on, and all these issues. And now, just to end it, you can see all the attacks around. This is daily. This is, if not daily, every second or third day. I'm just showing you the tip of the iceberg. It would take me 3 hours really to talk about what happened and to show many examples. But this is the last, before one more. This journalist, they call him Maestro. He is considered one of the trainer of journalists in Romania, one of the gurus of journalism in Romania. I once took him to the Anti-Discrimination Council, and he was sanctioned, and he had to pay a fine for one of his comments against me. And many people tell me, you shouldn't take journalists to the Discrimination Council and so on, but they will turn against you. And I said, no, you should defend yourself. If he said something, I have to defend myself. But this is years ago. Now here, he's working in an agency where the owners of this agency own a lot of restaurants. So they were very angry with all the measures with the restaurants, with dropping the number of people during the high waves and so on. I don't know if this had any impact on him, but listen to this. This is direct attack. Dr. Arafat doesn't know even to make an injection. He says that I'm a felcher. Felcher is an old word for less, not nurse aide, less than a nurse aide.
Secretar de stat la intern.
So he's now attacking my credibility as a doctor. This was done by many people. I worked the first 8 years as a volunteer in Romania using money I inherited from my father, and I can tell you I was working day and night. So I have so many cases, more than any doctor that could work in normal working time. I have thousands of flight hours on helicopter as an emergency doctor. All this. And here he's trying to dismantle all my professional life. Yeah, just a felcher, he says. So, just to laugh, these are some of the other things that have been shown, the journalist and all these things and all the comments. But one day, these things led to what we were all thinking that it will lead. In fact, every time they were speaking, the same moment, my messenger on Facebook was going with hate messages, with go home, with things like this. So I blocked it. I stopped it. It was useless to follow up these messages. So it was continuous attacks, hundreds, thousands. They were coming one after the other. The moment I saw that messages were coming in groups, I knew that somebody is speaking on the TV about me. I didn't follow the TVs. I didn't watch these things. But I started getting death threats. And listen to this guy. He's saying he's going to kill me and that he will be a hero. The police searched for me, being Secretary of State and the Minister of Interior. That was taken very seriously. It was not the only one. But then I was advised to file a complaint against him. So I filed a complaint against him. And some journalists attacked me. Why did I file a complaint? This is freedom of speech. So this guy here is saying to me, I shouldn't, this is stupid that I filed a complaint against him. He just threatened me to kill me, that's all. And this is for you to laugh. I always carry my phones on my belt. And usually I have, as you see there, 2 phones, 1 radio and so on. But in the winter, they are covered by my pullover. So a news came all the time that I'm carrying a gun and I want to shoot Romanians. So one day I was fed up with this. So I did a Facebook posting. I'm going to show you today my guns. Here they are. And I put them there. It was viral, hundreds of thousands. But it was taken by all the mass media. At least I debunked the issue that I have guns with me. So from this, I think that what I have showed you is how hard it is to do the right thing, to keep on doing the right thing. 99% of people, if they were in my position, they would have stopped a long time ago with all this. These were meant to make me stop. They didn't know how resilient I am. That's their business. I still have a lot of resilience in me, so I will go on. But the problem is that this is not right. Where are we going from here? Is this freedom of speech? Is this what we expect to happen in our countries? Isn't there a way to try to fine-tune things and stop these things from happening? I took that TV to court. I won. But the court gave me 5,000 euros. So I went to the appeal court and I said, this is encouragement, not discouragement. This guy makes in his TV show maybe 10,000 euros per minute of publicity. So their net profit was 4.5 million euros in 2020. And the court is giving me 5,000. It's not to make me rich or something. But 5,000 is telling them, you are encouraged, go on. This is an investment, in fact. The National Audiovisual Council fined them several times, but the fines were limited, so they had no effect. They went even to 30,000 euros, they had no effect, because they make much more money. So that's it. I'm happy to answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was absolutely superb. I only would like to think that your presentation should be obligatory watching for all those dealing with the media freedom legislation that's coming up. Because, well, and thank you so much for your resilience and your continuing robustness. It's amazing, given what you've been through. We have time for 2 quick questions only. One gentleman at the back, please. And then
Thank you very much, Sorin Ionica. I'm from Romania, civil society. Thank you, Dr. Arafat, for what you did and for this excellent presentation. Just a small coda to an annex to your presentation. Throughout these 2 years, the TVs that you showed were financed from the public budget, from the very governments, with lots of money by advertising placements. So the pro-vaccination advertising was placed in the commercial breaks that nobody watched, while the viral talk shows in the evening were like you showed. So this is one more layer of Balkan complexity. Your government actually paid for all this from the budget.
It's true. We know that there was a lot of funding for COVID measures. And I said it several times, in fact, that it is really weird that you hear all this and then you have the government of Romania do this and that to avoid COVID in the break. I said this several times. I agree with this. This is not right. And this is, again, one of the issues that needed to be discussed. But this is where they were saying this is freedom of speech and that is publicity for the government. They are different, which is not true. There had to be at least some decency in the whole thing. So I agree with this.
thank you. And there was a question. I'm sorry, but you'll know that the time is...
Thank you, really. Thank you for this. But other than that, I was wondering, with all due respect, what degree, because we already have seen in some other countries that governments have put doctors up front as a way to kind of depoliticize information about health emergencies, and that kind of has backfire or has the same effect as this. I was wondering if you have an opinion, if there was some component of you being a good bad guy for some people because of your upbringing, the fact that you weren't born in Romania, that played a role. You were maybe for some people an easier target, or you don't think that had anything to do?
It's very complex. We tried from the beginning to have right communication with having, which the communication I saw is always coming out with other experts and speaking. In some periods we succeeded to do it. In other periods we didn't succeed to do it. It depended on the political will if they would allow us to do it this way or not. At the beginning, everybody was fighting to be the first to communicate. Then when they saw that it is a hot sausage, as we say, slowly they drew back, and then we found ourselves very few communicating. And then the targeting of the communicators started. And at the end, we had very, very few remaining to communicate. We used communiques. We had press conferences like the one that was manipulated. It was experts on the table. We had the Public Health Institute and so on. We answered questions. We did it weekly. And we did this especially during the 4th wave. And it was much better. The media was very good and cooperant in the sense they were coming to every press conference. They were putting the right questions to understand and so on. But still, those TVs continued their work that you have seen. It didn't stop. And the big question mark, whether this is real, whether the pandemic is real, whether it's all a hoax, it was always going on and so on. And as Mr. Ionica said, the government was giving the spots on how to deal with the COVID, and these were given in the publicity after the debates that you have seen. So it was hard. But I was a target before that. It's just here intensified. The first time I was targeted was after I went against the will of the president of Romania in 2011 to liberalize health and to liberalize emergency services, privatize emergency services. And this is when I said, I don't agree with this. And I said it openly. And I was, in a way, attacked at that time. I resigned. The population didn't like it. It was a very complex issue. I won't go just into it now. But after that moment, because the president had to withdraw the bill, and then I was called back to the government. So after that, attacks started. And I remember the first attacks in 2013. I took a journalist to the court from Cluj because he said that I took a bribe. He said the amount of money. He said in which account, which were lies. So I took him to court. The first question I got from the judge was, how can you prove that the journalist is not right? And I said, doesn't he has to prove that he's right, first of all? But at the end, they didn't find that money. They didn't find anything. But I lost that case. And in the comments of the judge, it was that being in a political position, I have to be tolerant to the criticism of journalists. But that was not criticism. That was criminal accusations. And according to the European jurisprudence, this has to be proven. So these were the things I passed through. So it was a continuity, let's say, but much more fierce because they found the subject.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm sure you'd like to show your appreciation. Finally, thank you.